Good, very early morning. So, found this cool yarn. This yarn is in one strand. It is 2, 3, 4 different colors. This is regular yarn for making scarves or hats or whatever. In this yarn, I was able to separate actually into 4 strands, but there's 3 of them there. So individual strands. So I thought I'd tie actually 2 flies. I'll tie one that uses the yarn for the body as it is as yarn, and then I've also taken a piece. I'm going to do the green part that uses the green part. If you drag your nail, you get a little, oh, camera fell, you get just a little fluffy piece out of there, but if you do enough of it, you get dubbing. I'm going to utilize that to tie the fly right after I fix my camera here. So my phone's standing on the stand, and it's supposed to be sticky, and it's not sticking. So it fell. Just going to switch the camera around now. Okay. Get settled here. All right. So I've got these hooks are actually slightly different size. I actually had tied flies on these before, and I cut the old flies off so I could reuse them because I didn't like those old flies, but they're slightly different size, but they're the same shape, and they'll work out for what I want to do. So I'm going to tie the same fly 2 times quickly and use 2 different versions, or make 2 different versions of the same fly using 2 different techniques for the body. So I need to get another piece of the green yarn by itself. I'm just going to use regular black tying thread, and I'm going to use a little bit of maribou, another old fly that I didn't like, so I'm going to reuse the black maribou on the back of that. Okay. So using black thread, these hooks are very slick. So I'm going to start with a little bit of nail polish on there, so that I'm just going to paint it right on the hook. And then whenever I wrap the thread on there and it dries, it'll stick better. Because when I was cutting the old fly off, it started spinning. The materials that I had tied on before started spinning. And I had tied those flies a long time ago. So, alright, so you just hold the thread and wrap the body, or wrap the hook shank all the way down to cover. Go ahead and snip off that bit of waste. So this is a very simple fly. It just uses yarn, a little bit of wire. So I'm using the green yarn and this green wire. You see it there. And the black part of that maribou. So the first one I want to do is I'll do the thread version. There's the thread. I'm just going to tie this in. Just doing loose turns to get it on the body, like that, and then I'll come back and cover it. That's just to get it in place. And I'm going to do the same thing with the wire. shapes to the hook shape. And I'll go back. Get a little tighter and come back through. Okay. Now I'm just going to wrap. I'm actually going to wrap this backwards to the way that I wrapped the thread. Just touching turns. Try not to get it hooked on the tip of the hook there, the point. Just wrapping forward, touching turns. So this is obviously going to be a thinner fly. I want to go back, I think, and build that body a little more. A lot of bugs are fatter in the middle. A lot of worms are fatter in the middle or towards the head, so I'm going to do that. Since this is thinner stuff, I'm going to wrap and hold that down. That. Snip off my waist. Save that piece for later. Now, I've got some extra fluff here, but that'll tie down as I go. And then I'm going to take my wire. I'm going to take my wire and wrap it the same way that I wrapped my thread. I'm going to go over that yarn. And I'm going to do this and space it out so that it makes it segmented a little more. This also will help protect the yarn and make it last longer. Keep it from hanging on things and unraveling. Kind of have a lump there in my fly, but this is more about the technique than the aesthetic of the fly itself. So the cool thing about this wire is it's thin enough. Once you get it tied in, you just twist it and it breaks off. And I'll make a head. And that's just a matter of wrapping the thread until it builds up to a shape that you like. Usually kind of a cone shape. Just till you're happy with it and it looks kind of buggy. Oh, almost forgot my maribou. So I'm going to take just a tuft of this. Snip it off. I'm going to put it in place so it hangs down kind of like a beard on this guy or girl. Make sure it's on the bottom. Alright, I'll use my whip finisher. Okay. Nail polish to finish. Okay. So that little bit of maribou will guard the hook so that the fish kind of don't see it. So there's one version, and then very quickly, so I don't use up a whole lot of video time here, I'll go to the next one. And this one I'm going to use dubbing to do the same thing. Nail polish. Too much. Technical difficulty with the nail polish there. This is basically the same thing, like I said. About right there. This one I'm going to tie my wire in first. And this time when I wrap my thread, I am not going to go the opposite direction of my thread when I do the body, because when you do dubbing, you don't see the direction of the thread as easily as you do when it's just wrapping the yarn. So now I'm going to take some wax on the string. This helps the dubbing stick to the string. Okay. And I'm going to take my dubbing. So this goes a long way. I'm going to take some of this out. And I'm going to just rip it up some and get it so that it's kind of flat and webbed out. A chunk of something in there. What that is. So one of the things I like about this yarn, this is some kind of man-made material, but it's kind of shiny, and that adds a little life to that fly. So I'm going to come under the thread. I'm going to roll this, and as I roll it, it's going to go. It's going to go around the thread for me. Essentially, I'm remaking yarn, but I'm making it around, remaking it around the yarn, the thread here. So now I'll probably have to add more in a second, but now I'll just wrap this dubbing around the body, around the hook, shank, sorry. I'm tired. It's late. And then as you go, you just keep twisting it back onto there. You always do it the same direction. I'm going to go back on there and do a little bit more of that. I could also have mixed this stuff with hair, like hair from a rabbit or something like that, and it would make it a little more spiky, I guess. And give it a little more life. Stuff doesn't want to lay down very well, but that's what the wire is for at the end. Okay, so there's a pretty fluffy fly right there. I'm going to take this and go around the same way. And again, it's going to segment and give a little more flash to that body. Build this up a little bit before I put my maribou on there. Make sure I have the shape I want. Just get a tuft of this. See if I can get that fluff out of the way here. Clean up that head a little bit. There we go. And then a whip finisher again. And this one I'll do something a little bit different to it. Nail polish on there to finish it. That just sinks into the threads and keeps it from coming untied. And then I've got this beard brush that I've added Velcro to. Now that I've got it where I want it, got the beard the way I want it, I'm going to take this and just dig some of that out. Sides, and that'll kind of go along with the beard, kind of get a little leggy look to it. So now I have two versions of the same fly, just different bodies. Now I will say this one, I didn't really wrap the thread the way I wanted to. I was doing it kind of quickly, so I have kind of a lumpy body instead of a smooth one there. Kind of resembles me actually, but no kidding. But both of those are pretty good flies, so they would drop in the water, and depending on how the current was, it might float like this with the current pulling that beard, or it might turn. There's different ways that it could hit, but it's going to resemble a larva that's under the water, that starts in the rocks and rises up, and the wing casing starting to come out, things like that. So one thing that I didn't do with this one, you see it's very sleek, smooth body, and this one has got the fuzz underneath it. It's going to look like gills or little legs or something, like a shrimp, or I think they scud or something, whatever they call it. But anyway, so two different versions of the same fly. Thanks for watching, everybody, and my Texas folks there, and have a good night, or a good morning, whatever it is for you. Dr. Stein, good to see you.